Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Circle of the World podcast, where we discuss Joe Abercrombie's First Law series. I am one of your hosts, Lord Chamberlain Jeffrey, and here are my co-hosts.
Archlector George.
And Harrison, the Adeptus Historical.
Today, we continue our coverage of Last Argument of Kings, the third book in the original trilogy. For this episode, we'll be covering, you know what, fuck this. I was led to, the boys pointed out that there was another Wirren of Blair controversy where he beat Kernsbrook over the what the fuck, people? What the
Jeff, it's okay. Calm down.
It's just the cheese trap, okay? And I think the cheese trap is a fairly good invention for the North.
I'm gonna strip away your title, I swear to God. Anyway, for this episode, we'll be covering The Perfect Couple and The Seventh Day. So let's get started. Right? Let's get started, guys.
Please.
We want
mercy.
We want to thank the audience, our so smart, our intelligent audience, for supporting us.
I think that perhaps
and sticking with us through thick and thin.
We are the reason why Wirren is so popular. The sole reason.
Yeah, the only reason why that got voted is because they knew you were going to get angry.
we have created something, which is we somehow solely on our own. Actually, Joe had nothing to do with this character. We basically invented it ourselves because we made him so popular. Without us, I mean, no one would talk about We're Gonna Fly.
Right? No, absolutely not. We basically wrote him in. We wrote him in. Oh. And now my creation has turned against me. Anyway, so yeah, we want to thank you all seriously for supporting us and being part of the community and all that.
Absolutely, and we're so sorry about the lapse last week where we didn't release an episode.
Yeah,
we've all had some few things going on. I mean, I moved to a different country over the weekend, so
over the weekend,
just packed up his bags and just cross borders. No big deal. But yeah, sorry about that. But gonna be consistent again going forward. Just had one little hiccup, So if Harrison, do you want to say anything else about the fandom or not fandom? Our three.
I mean, honestly, just like last time, we're gonna skip the community interaction segment this week for time. But honestly, there's been just a lot of First Law art popping up lately. I don't know what's going on, but like not AI art, just like people creating things. So jump on there and take a look.
That's awesome. That's really good. Alrighty, so let's go on and let's do our first chapter read through, which is The Perfect Couple, and we start off from the perspective of His August Majesty, whatever the fuck, Giselle.
High August Majesty.
Yeah, okay. We start off from his perspective, and he's getting he has a crown being put on his head. He's getting dolled up because it's wedding day. And what's funny about this part is he didn't even realize that he didn't say yes to anything. He didn't propose or accept a proposal. He didn't say, "Will you marry me?" to Therese. Not just it's happening. It's happening.
Yeah, he doesn't have a choice. And I like how Baez in the previous chapter basically said, "Oh, how about this Therese?" And Giselle's like, "Oh, okay, maybe." And then like the next chapter is like, "No, they're getting married."
What? Yeah. Yeah, these things move fast. And he's getting annoyed with Baez's constant like overbearing nature. Maybe the top button can be undone. And he's like, "I know how to do it. What are you gonna like tell me how to use my dick too?" And Baez goes, "It's one matter I hope you would know enough to handle it on your own."
Baez is like, if I have to.
Just looking through a painting or something, like a horror film.
Just to the left, Giselle.
He just hands Giselle a Kama Sutra book.
No, he does the thing that he did in the contest where he just fucking empowers him. He's fucking sitting behind the door, sweating his balls off. They're like, "What are you doing, Bias?" "I'm focusing.
I'm making sure our king produces a hair." Oh God. So then we cut to another perspective, and it's Glocta's perspective, and it's him and Artie, and they're about to get ready to go, see the ceremony, I guess, or whatever. He goes to pick her up at her place. She sees his face all bruised up, and she goes, "What happened?" And I like how he's just immediately honest. He's like, "Yeah, Kantic woman came, beat the shit out of me, and tried to drown me." And then she goes, "What really happened?" And he's like, "I fell down some stairs, I guess, whatever." Like, the truth wasn't too sexy. Was what, too sexy for you? What's going on here?
Although this part is a really, really nice detail of of how her abuse is too, and how many times she probably told people that, because then she like looks down in her glass and she's like, yeah, like, yeah, those stairs always get you. Like, it's like, damn.
Mm-hmm. And then and I guess she can see, like, Glocta can see, like, okay, this is obviously the wedding of her former lover, or her booty call. We don't have to go. We could just chill. Like, if we don't even walk, that's great with me. My legs hurt. And she's like, nope, we need to go. I mean, we must see what Princess Therese is wearing and everything. And I like this last line. It's like, having fucked the groom is really no excuse for missing a wedding. Then we switch over to Giselle's perspective again. They're at the docks of Adjoa, it seems like, and they are waiting for the flagship of the Grand Duke Orso of Talons. It's arriving, and it is carrying Therese and her ladies, the whole bridal party. Yeah, bitch, yeah. And he's sweating. He's nervous. Giselle is kind of like thinking, what the fuck am I doing here? Do you want to talk about the procession here, Harrison? Since you're the Adeptus Historical, you want to talk about like how the bearded guardsmen and all that. Do you want to talk about that?
Yeah, it's like the first description of like Talons that we get in terms of like physical presence, and Talons will play a much bigger role later on, like the nation of Talons. But the big thing that I was like hyper focusing on, honestly, was the size of the ship, which was really, really hard to like try to figure out, because it says it's got 3 masts and that it's like towering over the dock and all the other ships in the harbor.
Mm-hmm.
And
which would be a good comparison for like a ship of the line from like the 1800s.
Which is what I was leaning towards as well, and which is pretty fucking large. And it kind of tells you as well that the technology of like Styria and the Union for like ships is actually pretty far advanced for the most part in this time period, because that's like post-industrial kind of ship, and even if it's a special one of a kind, it's still pretty impressive. Those ships weren't around during the Renaissance, so it's just kind of interesting to see how big the ship is and how prevalent, because we don't ever get like sea descriptions or like ship. We get a little bit of ship battle, but it's very little. So it's very interesting when we do get some of it, that how it all functions. But basically they come out and everyone's like, damn, that's a big ship. And they come out of it and there's like this big like fanfare, and they're like, aha, the Princess Therese, oh my god, she's so perfect. And she comes down and she like literally is perfect. Everyone
it's all very Disney, isn't it?
It is very Disney like, yeah. And everyone's just in awe of this spectacle and everything. And it's interesting too is that the ship is also noted to be a warship. It's not just a ceremonial ship. It's like they're like, oh yeah, he brought his warship to try to show what a big man he is, for Duke Orso.
Yeah, he's slinging that big dick energy. That's for sure.
Yeah, and she gets off, and she gets off and greets Giselle and says, well, my dad's not able to make it due to stuff and talent. And he's like, oh my god, it's been less than a year, or just over a year, and she looks even more beautiful than ever before.
Yeah. And he's like, when she says that, sorry that my dad, couldn't make it, in more or less those terms, he's like, you're all that we need. And then he's like, fuck, that's not how I'm supposed to address her. Shit. And
I do like this kind of subtle detail where it's kind of, he's probably been coached for this. He knows exactly what to say, and he just completely forgets. It's Giselle being absolutely incompetent as usual.
Because he's a horn dog. What do you expect? The man is just floored by her beauty. And then he says, come on, Your Majesty, take her hand in his. I guess they are on a horse or on a carriage or something. They start, going through the crowd, and she's a natural at this. She's waving at the little people, the small folk.
I was imagining they're on like a float.
A float. That's hilarious. And here Giselle does make a little effort to like reach out. I guess at some point he's like, "Hey, so we don't know each other at all, but I would like to know you. I know this must come as a terrible shock to you, just as it has come to me. If there's anything I could do to make it easier," then she's like, those of us born to high station are long prepared to make sacrifices.
Oh, that's a very subtle burn. That.
Yeah, that's what I picked up.
Those of us that were born to high station.
Yeah. That's
when he was born to high station, just not as high as hers.
No, he wasn't.
Wait, no, listen.
He was like a minor nobleman.
Wow, where do we draw the line? Well, Therese is royalty.
Not long prepared to make sacrifices.
Okay.
He's the son of a side piece, my man. All
my
right?
point is that it's all perspective, since Therese comes from a fucking duke.
Right.
All right.
I get what you're saying.
Yeah, okay. A Grand Duke, I'll have you know.
We'll
Grand Duke of Talent.
We'll get to that. But and then she tells him that like you should really wave, you should start doing it. And he's like, oh yes, of course.
He's like he's so captured by her, and I would dare say, besides maybe one other character that we see much later on, in terms of dressed up, all put together, Therese is possibly the most beautiful character in the entire series, judging by how everyone describes her in the entire series. Besides maybe one other person.
So then we switch perspectives after that, after Therese telling him to wave. And we're back at Glocta and Artie. And now they're outside, I believe, the Lord's Round, Harrison? Yeah, they are.
Yep.
And this is where, I guess, inside the Lord's Round, the ceremony is actually taking place. They're just outside, because there's only a certain amount of people that can go see the actual ceremony. Everybody else is banished to the exterior of the building. And then, Glock is complaining about how long can a goddamn ceremony take. Artie is, making jokes here and there. This one is about...
They're like, maybe they just started fucking shagging on the floor of the Lord's Round.
Yeah. And then they come out, and even Glock is like, damn, even I gotta admit that they're a great looking pair. Like,
yeah.
They're both tall. They're both, good looking, blah, 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 to be young and everything. And then
hurrah for them.
My shriveled turd of a heart burst open with joy. And Glocta, he starts joking with Artie now. He says, like, is it really true that our king is more handsome than me? And she goes, offensive nonsense. Which I thought was hilarious.
Love this little interaction between them. That's so nice.
Yeah, so it is. It's really nice, and she sparkles more brightly than the jewel of talons. They're just like joking around, and
they're simultaneously being sarcastic and insulting the newlyweds at the same time. They're both like, "Oh my god, we're so much better. We're the perfect couple. Look at them. They're trash, less than trash."
Yeah.
It's like.
But then after a moment of like reflection, I guess Artie just kind of like mutters under her breath that she didn't really like him to begin with, not really. And Glocta's like, don't cry about it. You're too sharp to have been satisfied with him. And she goes, I know, but I was so bored and lonely and tired. He made me feel like I was something more than a burden. He made me feel wanted. And I was like, damn. And then she goes, and it was hardly as if it was true love, but somehow I always thought it would be me making a fool out of him. I was like,
Yeah. She thought she was like since she was obviously more intelligent, she thought that she had it all figured out, like how she was going to play him and get what she wanted. And then she realized afterwards that she actually just wanted to be wanted, but that's actually not what she wanted. She doesn't still quite know what she wants, but that's what she thinks she wants right now.
Right. And then what else was she? Oh, and then so Glocta's trying to cheer her up, and he says, "Look, you're still young, you're clever, you're pretty, you have all your teeth and both your legs, a marked advantage over some of us." And he's like, "I do not doubt that you will soon find some other highborn idiot to entrap, and no harm done." She turns away from him. It looks like maybe she's biting her lip or tearing up. He's thinking about consoling her by putting a hand on her shoulder, but then he pulls it back because, he looks at his hand, the withered thing that it is, and he thinks no woman wants to be comforted by that. But that should be a bit of a little... Just keep an eye on that little interaction right there when he tells her, no harm done.
No. I didn't think about that. That's an interesting a little foreshadowing there.
Oh, yeah.
But I do like this inner monologue from Glocta as well, when he starts to kind of not come to terms with it. He does start to sort of feel remorse for all the things that he's done in the name of, the Inquisition.
You think he's feeling remorseful?
I think so. In that moment where he realizes, like...
I think he feels...
He kind of likes her, but then he thinks about all the things that hand has done, and he's like, well, that can't ever be, like, because of the things that he's done.
I see, yeah. He can't be that person. He can't be there for her. Not really, because he is a monster. So how can a monster be there for her?
Okay.
I think it's shame, but shame out of feeling like he's missing out of possibly something with Artie, and less so with him actually feeling regret about the pain he's caused.
Okay.
But I think it's the right idea.
Okay. I like that. But all right, so then we keep an eye on that, but then we switch perspective again, and now we're back to Giselle, and they're in the Chamber of Mirrors, which is a big ass room with a shitload of mirrors. Obviously, this is where they're hosting the reception. No DJ, but they have, a little musical band. And all the important people, the who's, the lords and ladies, and the closed and open council, they're all there. The richest and most powerful, dressed to their best to impress, baby. And everyone's happy, and Giselle, he's not sure what to do. He's nervous. He's, he's just so out of place here. Do any of you guys want to talk about his mindset real quick before I get to the dance number?
Yeah, and I do like this because Giselle has been going on this journey of sort of like self-discovery where he's, he thinks of himself as a fraud when it comes to being a king. So at this moment when he and Therese are meant to be the center of attention, he's just sitting there and he's just like, and he just can't take his eyes off her.
Yeah, I almost feel like in his mind, because he is dealing with so much loneliness and separation, that this one person who he's supposed to be close with, like, because they're married now, and he's supposed to get to know her, and she is really hot too, so why not, So he's attaching all of his feelings of loneliness and like, oh, I need a companion, a friendship or whatever. He's attaching all that to her. Like right off the bat, which I think is why he does this, is because he can't, like, he doesn't have anything else to do. What else is he gonna do?
Right. Gotcha. Okay. Yeah, and so he tries to start up a conversation with Therese. He's like, well, I heard Talons is like really beautiful. She goes, yeah, but like
she's totally.
Adjua's like nice too, And then he's trying to break the ice. He goes, like, he knows it's difficult to adjust to. She admits, like, it is. And then he asks her, do you dance? And she goes, a little. And he's like, well, then shall we? And then they, somebody's gonna have to explain this to me, because it looks like they just do some like old school, like Victorian era kind of like rehearsed dance. But she spanks him all over the dance floor. Like, it's was it a mix of the waltz and tango or something? Like, what's going on?
I think this is like
it's a ballroom dance, isn't it? Where the man is supposed to lead, but she just completely like gets away from him and pretty much makes a fool out of him in front of everyone.
But like she's like that great of a dancer apparently.
Yeah, he just can't even keep up with her.
Right. Spins him around and everything, and then near the end of the dance, she leans in, like she puts her back against him, and he does the whole like classic like lower her to the ground almost kind of thing. And then that signifies the end of the dance, and everyone's clapping. They're like, "Whoa, that's crazy! Wow!" And he's out here staring at her chest, at her.
He's like, "Damn,
damn, baby!" And then she's like, you wanna pick me up, please?" He's like, "Oh, right, sorry."
He's just fucking sitting down there.
Yeah, and then he's like, "Wow, you dance magnificently." And she's like, "You're too kind."
That's all she says.
That's all
just
she says.
Say you did fine too. Or he's just like, yeah, thanks.
And then he's looking at her now like, wow, she's not so icy. Actually, underneath all that, this is a woman of passion. Ooh, ooh, ooh. He
thinks she's got her all figured out.
Yep. He's all about it now. Then but then he's like, oh, I'm about to get a hard on. Oh no, I need to not do this. And then he looks at Baya. He's like, okay, it's gone now.
That's exactly what he did.
He's like, fuck that. And then Glocta is back at his apartment. We switch over to Glocta's perspective, and he's eating soup in his apartment. And Barnum is like, he comes in, he takes the bowl away from Glocta because Glocta doesn't finish his food, as you know that. And Glocta, I guess he's reminiscing about like, the whole like situation, like how is it that Giselle is like king of the Union or whatever, and Glocta in his prime was like a better Giselle, but even more vain. But like, how did this not happen to Glocta, etc.? He's like, well, the answer is life's not fair. Then we switch back to Giselle's perspective. Wedding's pretty much over. They're being led to the bed chambers. Guardsmen are accompanying them. And I'm feeling right. Whatever. And then they go into the room. The guards close the door behind them. And then he locks the door. She stops. She stands in the middle of the room. He, click, clack, sidles up to her. And then starts, caressing her neck and stuff. It's sexy time, as you know. We're about to get down to it. And I think he like growls in her throat, in her throat.
He's like trying to be all seductive and that.
And then she turns around and lays one on the man's face, cracks him right in the face with a slap, calls him a filthy bastard. You son of a fucking whore. How dare you touch me?
And fucking rasps him.
Ladislaw was a cretin, but at least his blood was clean. And Giselle's confused. His head's still spinning because of the slap. And he's like, wait, but... And then she just hits him with the Muay Thai knee to the nuts, and he is down for the count. And she's in the bed. Curtains are closed. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is a wrap to that wedding night.
So yeah, I might not have understood perfectly what was going on.
And I think that he also is like crying too, like not just about that. He's like, oh, never mind. I guess I am so lonely.
Oh lordy, Lord. She just up. He should have like. I think the night was going okay, but I don't think he should have took a like when he might have been like, hey, so we just met. Do you want to not do this? Do you want to do this? How do you feel? But he just
goes straight in there, doesn't he?
Yeah, read up on consent, Giselle. Good Lord, read up on the bylaws there, please. And yeah. So how would you guys rate that chapter,
Harrison?
I am gonna go with an 8 out of 9.
Damn.
I think this is so good. We get a continuation of Giselle's feelings and something else he starts to cling to because he hasn't really found himself yet. Mm-hmm. He's like King Giselle, but he's like, oh, this is gonna be my queen, and he misreads her because he's used to being able to read people, so he's fairly confident in that. But Therese has been fucking like acting this way her entire life, and he has no clue, like the level of feelings and passion and secrecy that she has. So he completely misreads it, and then he gets rudely reminded that he is, unfortunately still just him all alone, and that's pretty sad to me. Also, it's pretty funny because he's like, he gets kicked in the balls. And he's like, it's true indeed that she was indeed a woman of passion. And what spurns from this is actually pretty funny too. So the whole thing with him, it's like all about. I think the chapter really has to do with him again stumbling to find himself, and kind of in a comedic way. And also Therese, you think she's just some proper lady, and you're like, oh shit, she's kind of violent.
Yeah.
And my even more favorite part of this chapter is the Artie Glockton stuff, because this is the first time we really actually get to see them interact in a less just like, aha, we're friends kind of way. Where here, he's sitting there out there outside, his legs hurting, and she's like, you can lean on me. And he's like, no. And then after a little bit of time they're talking, he's like, okay, I'll lean on you. He's like about to die. She supports him. And then, they have that whole conversation that you guys were just talking about. And that was excellently foreshadowed for the future as well. So
yeah.
The Glock to Artie stuff is just really, really, really good.
The creme de la creme.
I'm going to have to agree, Harrison. I'm going to give it an 8 as well, because it's like a joke, isn't it? Almost. It's got this really long build up, and then just the punchline at the end, where and it is extremely funny, and at the same time kind of heartbreaking, because obviously Therese doesn't want to be there, doesn't want to, and this is a common thing for highborn women throughout history, maybe even probably definitely up to today. Nobody really gets to marry who they want to marry, and it's a bit sad, isn't it?
That's a pessimistic way to look at life, George, but okay.
Yeah.
I'm going to give this a 7 and a knuckle. I really enjoyed this chapter for all the reasons you guys said. The Glockta, and what I did like about the Glockta Artie dynamic is also like you could say the triangle nature of it, because like they both have, there's something about, how do I explain this? Like for Artie, obviously it's the past romantic relationship she had with Giselle, seeing him get married. And for Glockta, even though they've been antagonistic with each other, for him, Giselle is a mirror image of Glockta, receiving everything that Glockta in his vanity and his youthful pride and all that probably expected to receive. And now it's just kind of, he's seeing that like manifest before him. So I really enjoyed this chapter. 7 and a knuckle. Georgie, do you want to take it over for best meme of the week?
Yeah, sure. This week we have a user on Reddit, Jammy Westy, who is one of the people in the Circle of the World Discord chat. And again, if anybody wants to join that with us and get in on some shenanigans, they just send us an email or a message on Reddit, and that'll be good. And this is spoilers for the heroes and every other book afterwards. So it's the bit where Shivers kills Black Dow during the duel at the end. But it's the fucking Cat in the Hat. And that kid from fucking Even Stevens, I don't know. Man. I have no idea why. That's so silly, but it made me laugh. And go check that out. Go check it out. It's funny. Thank you very much, Jammy.
Thank you. Thank you for that, George.
No worries.
Now we'll move on to our final chapter read through. Ladies and gentlemen, this one. Ooh. This is a rough one. So it's called The Seventh Day. And we are obviously in the 7th day of the siege of the high places, the quote unquote fortress. And the guys they're not doing too great. They're tired. Apparently the Easterners, the people from east of the Krina, whatever, they came in the previous night. They made a little bit of headway, but they were able to be, driven out. But yeah, they were not too happy. The last 3 that survived of the Easterners threw down their weapons, and they probably should have just went on their. They should probably just like kill themselves because
they probably should have got out fighting.
Yeah, because then what they did is in the morning, Black Dow kind of tied them to the front of the gates, lit them on fire one by one.
Which is exactly what I would do in the situation, to be honest. Those guys.
Yeah, exactly. Fuck them.
Fucking credit bastards.
Savages.
But I'm just saying, goddamn. Goddamn. The Dogman, and like I said, Dogman's exhausted. Doesn't think that he didn't want to see he was like, I'm not gonna see this, so he just turns around, he walks away. Then he's looking at all the arrows that they have. They don't have a lot of arrows left. They're down to, like, you could tell, like, they're Harrison, like, not at their wits end, but they're near the end of the line, right?
Yeah, they just I mean, if you think about having to fight, like, even just one day, like, for only a couple hours, and they've been fighting 7 days in a row, and, like, they don't have any more food left. They're having to ration water, and they're fighting probably 8 hours out of the day. They are absolutely hammered, and they're running out of men too. I mean, they probably have lost by now a couple hundred.
Yep. Yeah, probably maybe a couple hundred, because like they're at what? I don't know about a couple hundred, maybe so. Like, how many did they come up with? 500, 700?
I think it's about 800.
800. Okay, so they'll then probably a couple hundred, yeah, for sure. And then I like how Dogman asks Grim. He's like, "What do you think Bethod's gonna got today for us?" And he's like, "A massacre." It's like, what? It's like, gee, thanks, Grim. It's not what the fuck I was asking, but all right. And then told Drew.
I think that's the biggest word we've ever had out of Grim as well.
Oh, for sure.
Three whole syllables. Wait, massacre. Yeah, man, 3 whole syllables.
Probably. And whatchamacallit, Toll's like, tries to make a joke. It's like, hey, waiting for the union and all that. That's such a great plan. Ha ha. Any chance I could change my mind? And Dogman's not even like, he's like, no. And then Toll's like, yeah, I guess not. And then we switch to Logan's perspective, and Logan is sore. Our boy is a giant walking bruise. That's it. And I
especially love in this description of his injuries, where it's like his ribs are all bound up from being kicked in them. It's like, okay. It's just such a blunt description.
Yeah. Again, our man he's fucked up, and he's looking at this other Carl. I guess that he lost his pinky or something, and now he looks at Logan and he's like, "It burns, doesn't it?" And Logan's like, "Yeah, it does." And he says, like, it feels like it's there. It's almost like that phantom limb phenomenon. And and then he says, like, does that feeling go away? Logan's like, it'll probably be more time than we actually have, to be honest. And the guy's like, yeah, probably.
This Logan being the fucking morale officer there.
Yeah, right. Doing great at it.
Yeah, don't worry about it, guys. We're going to fight through this. Nah, we're all fucked.
I do really like the contrast. It's like this shows how they all are dealing with all the different situations. Like, Dogman's feeling kind of guilty because everyone's relying on him because he's the chief, and he's like, oh my god, I'm letting everybody down. Like, I got to look out for everybody. I got to do what's best for everybody. Even Grim is just become more grim. He doesn't even care. He's not even going to help anybody. So he's like, we're going to get killed. Don't even stand a chance.
And only Zero Thunderhead has got his high spirit still.
Yeah. And that's how he deals with it. Probably the worse situations get, probably the more cheery he becomes,
Yeah, probably.
And Black Dow deals with it by murdering people. So
yeah, like normal people. and
that's why they call him Black Dow.
And then Crummick comes up, and he's like, well, you look tired. And Logan's like, oh god. He's like, yeah, it's been, we have had some hard work. And then there's like a little bit, like, Crummick thinks he's being witty. Right, he is like, "What are you scared, huh? You guys, like, you don't have to fight in you no more, blah blah blah." And Logan's just like, "I'm fucking tired. All right, I'm tired of your fortress. I'm tired of your food, and I'm tired of you fucking yapping. All right, not everyone loves to hear you fucking yap, so shut the fuck up." And then
I love it. Like, why don't you piss off and see if you can fit the moon up your ass?
yeah,
Badass insult.
yep. And then I like how Crummick's kid, one of his sons, comes up and he's like, what if we lose, Paul? And then Crumb's like, what? Lose? And he backhands the shit out of him. And Logan's like, you know what? I'm not even gonna try. I'm not even gonna try.
Yeah, a little comment about how not to treat children, which is
Yeah. Speaking of treating children. Anyway, and then Black Dow walks up, right? And I like this line. He goes, Black Dow ambled up something not too far from a smile on his face. And he's like, the only man in the whole camp who might have be in a better mood than usual. And you know you're in some sorry shit when Black Dow starts smiling. And then, they start talking to each other, like Knife Fingers, Dow. He's like, what do you think he's got, going on today? He's like, probably he's gonna be the day where he sends the Carls, the best of the best and everything. And then Dow gets a little bit of like, oh yeah, you say they're shits, but didn't you fought alongside them all those long, hard and bloody years? And he's like, yeah. Logan's like, yeah, but that doesn't mean I like them. And then Dow's like, well, if it's any consolation, I don't think they think much of you these days either. And then Dow kind of like gives him like a pause and looks at him and he says, when did Bethod stop suiting you? And then Logan, he stares right back at him. He's like, hard to say, maybe bit by bit. Maybe he got to be more of a bastard, or maybe I got to be less of a bastard. But Dow says, or maybe there just isn't enough room on one side for two bastards as big as the pair of you guys. And then Logan, I love this. He goes, oh, I don't know. You and me work real sweet together. And I was like, oh, love that. And he walks away and he goes, easy work, about like how Malachus, Pharaoh, and Giselle, they were easy work compared to Dow.
Yeah. I love how Logan's just full of the zingers today.
Yeah. Yes,
he's got a one-liner for everyone.
Mm-hmm. They can all get it. And then we're back at Dogman's perspective, and they're coming. They start coming. They form up in formation. Almost like the way they have it. Their shields are in front, and then they raise their shields when the arrows start coming. It's almost like that Roman formation, the Tortuga or something like that. Testudo.
Same word though. Well done. They've both been tortoise.
Yeah, right. Thank you. But
Shield wall.
But they come, they're slowly coming up towards the gate, and then to distract Dogman's bowmen, they get their own bowmen to come out, and these are the flat bowmen, like the Union use. And they're like, what the fuck? They're shooting, and this time they're just exchanging fire with them alone. They're focusing only on them. And then once they get the majority of the bowmen, gone or dead, they realize that those Carls are now at the gates, and they brought up a fucking battering ram.
Yeah.
And
I love how realistic this is, though, right? I hate in films where, especially this, Lord of the Rings is really bad for this, right? In Helm's Deep, where they come up with that enormous fucking steel shod fucking like log, and it's like, that's stupid. You can only swing that probably like 3 or 4 times before you get tired. I know they're orcs and shit like that, but this is what you need. You need like maybe a 6-inch thick stick. That's all you need to knock down a door. You don't need anything bigger than that.
Yeah.
You mean like a long, thin tree trunk? That's what you're saying.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
Whereas a lot of the time, the authors go for, oh yeah, they brought this massive fucking ram, and
Grunt.
Oh, fuck, not Grant.
But I do believe that in like historical, they did use rams like that were situated on wheels and had a overhang covering, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, exactly. But that's more of a you put a big weight on the end, and then all you have to do is lift it and let it go.
Right. Yeah, I got you.
I also I very much like how this whole time we've seen, people from the Krina and Shanka and like just oh, we're gonna attack the walls. Here we go. And now we actually see Bethod's like main fighting force, the one he's been using to like trash everyone, and they are marching up this, and it's a pretty steep hill because they're in a tight valley, and they even are like they do it almost perfectly. They get shot up by arrows, they heal up their shields. They're shoulder to shoulder, but they don't break up over the uneven ground. Over all the bodies of previous things, they stay in formation the entire time, all the way up. It's like there's some really high discipline for, like a medieval army of this type.
And I do like how that ties back to what Logan says. It says like it seems like a good day, good weather for armor, and like armored men and shields, which makes sense because you don't want to be walking up a hill in mud when you've got 30 kilos of armor on you. Like you're just going to be slipping and sliding. You can't stay in formation.
Right.
Exactly. That's a nice little detail.
Yeah, Bethos, he's got a high functioning army. He definitely does, right? And so they break through the gate basically, because they break through the gate, and then there's a bunch of thralls that are charging across now, and they're carrying ladders. So they're trying to quickly, gain some speed and put the ladders up quickly and, get up there. And so now they're through, and then and then it's like, fuck. And then Toll, he's like, I'm going down there. And he takes his big ass sword and he runs down there. Dogman's he's like, I can't even try to stop him, but fuck it. And so he's got to focus here at their tower gate thing, whatever.
Oh,
and then
might come to regret that.
Yeah, and then Logan is he's with the main force that's I guess right behind the gate, and he sees them coming in, and he's like, oh fuck, he wants to just run away, but there's nowhere to run away to, and in order to try to survive, you have to run to those men with the weapons to kill them or drive them back before they get a foothold. So they charge, and before long it becomes a goddamn just a suffocating press where like they're all just like mashed up against each other. They can't even like lift up their arms, the shoulder to shoulder. He thinks he sees like white sides and he's like growling, but he the current of the soldiers push him one way, and he gets knocked in the fucking head. He falls. He tries to stab somebody. You know what I mean? It's chaos.
Oh, absolutely. And again, very realistic.
Yeah, very realistic. Like no one's just gonna immediately make space for everyone to have one-on-one fights. This isn't Street Fighter or whatever the fuck. And then he's like at some point he gets kicked, tripped, and then he falls, and now he's crawling and he's still getting kicked by whatever, stepped on. Someone steps on his hand. He's like, motherfucker. And then he's like, he looks, and some other guy is just is in the same predicament as Logan. Fell. He's crawling around. They both like make eye contact, and then that guy gets a spear in the back of his fucking in the back, which is hilarious. And then it's not hilarious. I'm sorry. He died. And Logan, I like how he's thinking to himself. He's like, go back to the north and get some vengeance. What the fuck was I thinking?
It's a rare moment of introspection from Logan.
For real. And then I like how then it's switches over to Dogman's perspective, and Whiteside's thralls are on the wall near the tower, and so Dogman grabs his sword, his knife. He's like, "Ah, fuck, I don't." He likes to keep things at a distance, but up close and personal is not really, it's not really his thing. But it's a weird fight now that it's an awkward fight up the steps. Because obviously going up the steps, and I bet you there's no railing. These people don't think about safety provisions when building these stairs, and it's Dogman, Grim, and whoever else is up there in the tower. Dogman, at some point, gets he dodges a sword thrust, like the first sword thrust, but then the second one gets him in the arm, and he drops his sword because his hand is now useless. But then Grim grabs that guy, and then Dogman stabs that guy with his other hand, and then. Right, is that basically what happened in this little scenario?
That's exactly it. But I think he actually fucking chops the top of his head off, which is that's quite a feat.
Oh, right, yeah, that's something. And then there's I guess a bit of a reprieve because it's it's just Dogman and them up at the top of the steps, I guess. And then Grim is like, he's like, huh, he like just points, and then Dogman is like looking, and then. You can see in the distance a lot of dust and whatever in the far distance, and it's the Union. The Union have arrived, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah!
And then now we switch to Lord Marshal West's perspective, and he asked Jallenhorn, was like, "Are you sure?" He's like, "Yep, the Northmen are still there, but they're holding out just barely." And he's like, "General Polder." He's like, "My Lord Marshal."
My Lord Marshal.
And then he's like. are the cavalry ready to charge? He's like, well, they're not properly deployed. We should probably wait for the infantry, whatever. And he's like, prudence is a luxury. But now Wes is kind of weighing things in his mind. He's like, do I wait for the infantry? Which are still like hours behind and mount a well-planned assault, but by then maybe they're dead already. Or do I charge now uphill, against a determined, group of men? And our guys are still kind of disorganized. He's like, what the fuck would I do? But then he remembers what Varuz has told him once. Not Varuz, Burr. Sorry, Burr told him once, which is that West has a certain kind of ruthlessness, which is what's needed to be this kind of leader. And so he's like, all right, we're charging. Ladies and gentlemen, get it together. And Polder kind of like pushes back a little bit. He's like, are you sure? And he's like, do you want to prove me and Croy wrong about your abilities? And he's like, to prove you wrong, I will order the charge immediately. And, so they start the charge. And then we're back at Logan's perspective. And then Logan he's fucked up. His head's ringing like crazy at this point. He can't really hear much. Then, he hear like a Logan, you all right? Where you hurt? And Logan can't even talk. He's like, ah. And he's like, do you know me? And then something slapped at his face. And I guess that's Toll. Toldaru's there. He slaps like Logan's face. Hey, you all right? You okay, buddy? But Logan can't really talk. And, so, Toll's carrying him away. He's like, it's okay. And then Logan's like, get away. And he just puts his hand on his chest. But Toll is like, it's okay. I got you. And then Logan smiles.
And that's not going to go well. Oh my God.
And it's not Logan anymore. It's the Bloody Nine. And he stabs Tolduru in the fucking neck.
Just
my boy!
straight up fucking murders him.
And then Logan just flings his corpse off him, the Bloody Nine, I mean, and takes his sword, the big sword that Toll usually carries, and he goes ham. This man is whirling that sword in circles. He's laughing, he's screaming, he's whatever. He's doing the Bloody Nine things. And then at some point they're like, what the fuck? And then
well, we're going to talk about how Karamika fails. Son, it just happens to be in his way.
Yeah. He's cowering. He's slithering away on his back. And Logan's like, stupid kid. And he just splits him.
Oh, my God.
He fucking kills Toldaru, who is, like the nicest guy out there. For no reason. He just fucking kills him, even though he's trying to save his life. And then he starts killing everybody. And no doubt, judging how Toldaru pulled him behind their lines, which means he's killing all his own men first, before he's even gotten to them. And then some little kid gets in the way. He fucking murders him. And it's kind of cool because he's holding the sword like they do in animes. And it's like a big old sword. And it's like oversized. And he's like, whatcha? Just killing everybody. But also, it's pretty fucked up.
Yeah,
it's extremely fucked up. I mean, we've seen like the Bloody Nine do this kind of shit to enemies, the practicals, Shankar, but to see it to his own side, to like his friends.
Yeah,
like, we saw the fuck, man.
Yeah, we saw the threat of it in the Blade itself with Pharaoh, but then that big Northman, stone shitter, came in and distracted him. Yeah, but yeah, this is the first time we see it. We see it happen, and kills Toldaru, kills Krummick's kid, and then everyone's looking at him like, "Oh fuck, it's him! It's the Bloody Nine!" And then at some point they give him like a wide berth, and then he says, "Who's next to the mud?" And then a couple people they step forward, and they die. They keep dying, and then at some point. Go ahead.
It's like one guy like goes to step up, and just as he steps up, he fucking whips around, takes that guy out, and then the sword continues to go through, hits the next guy, and then hits the next guy. It's like, goddamn, and they weren't even trying to fight him.
So, and then they create like a circle around the length of the sword, basically, right? And then one of them, they all just like started like they just threw down their weapons. They're like, "Fuck this." And then they're like, and the first one just like kind of like held up his hands like, "Hey man, I want no more beef. I don't want any more beef." And then the Bloody Nine is like, "You're forgiven." And then he just runs. He throws down his sword, and then he darts forward, and then he grabs this guy by the throat, lifts him up, both of his hands, and he's basically squeezing to the point where his fingers are entering his thumbs are entering into the man's neck. Ugh. Yikes! And then the funniest thing is not the funniest thing, but then he kind of like he tosses him aside. He says, "Forgiven again," and then he has the wherewithal to just walk to the archway of the gate, and just like look and see, like he hears the crowd, the cheer of victory. I guess Logan took over at that point somehow. And then he's like, Logan closed his eyes and breathed, and that's the end of the chapter.
And God damn, it's so fucking sad that we know that the Union's arrived. Logan doesn't know that, obviously, and all of this is completely fucking unnecessary. Like, sure, if the Union wasn't there, and this was like the last thing that he ever did, that might have made sense. Well, as far as he's concerned, it probably is the last thing he's ever going to do.
Yeah,
it's tragic.
But it is completely fucking tragic. Oh my God.
Well, it makes you wonder too, like when Bloody Nine walks over there and he's expecting to like go fight Bethod 1v1 or whatever. He goes out there and he sees like it's victory and the Union's there, and he's like, "Oh, okay, well, I guess that's over." And and then it just makes Logan sad because he realizes, "Oh, that was unnecessary."
But he doesn't. But remember, he doesn't remember what he did.
He does remember. I mean.
In the next chapter there is a bit where it kind of contravenes that, but
no, there's a part where he vaguely.
It supports you, Jeff.
Yeah. So anyway, what would you guys rate this chapter?
Oh, it's got to be a 9.
Gotta be a fucking 9.
It's got to be a fucking 9. I mean, and not because it cheers you up or anything like that. It's
because
just the
bloody 9.
It's the bloody 9, and it really does show Logan's true colours. I mean, at this point, we've seen the bloody 9, and it's sort of like this cool, like, oh wow, he's like a berserker, and he can kill all these people, and it,
Yeah, you're like, yeah, violence.
Yeah, violence, and it kind of just shows him the terrible, terrible side of this, where it's just everyone around him, his friends, some kid.
No one is safe.
No one is safe.
You would think a kid would be safe, right? You would think a kid, which is like a symbol of innocence, right? Nope. I bet you it was the same kid that Crummick hit too, and Logan felt bad for.
Yeah, exactly, and that's why it's just fuck you, Logan. I don't like you anymore.
Yeah, you don't kill Tol Duru, come back through that unscathed, buddy. Oh man, that was a rough one.
How about you guys?
I would say, I'm gonna give it a 9. I mean, the fight scene is incredible, but the more like interesting part of it all is like the way the Bloody Nine acts, like the inner monologue of him is so different and so unique to the entire series that it's just like, I don't know, it's just so entertaining. You see how the Bloody Nine is like, oh, I'm gonna justify this action, and these guys are nothing but dirt, but blah 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 blah, and like death, I am death. It's just this is probably
he doesn't need justification. But go ahead.
It's like his it's probably the best Bloody Nine chapter in my opinion. Like in terms of like descriptions and actions and like the feats that he does here, where he just basically takes on everybody and nobody can touch him at all, and I'm convinced that those guys inside the fortress didn't surrender because they saw the Union there. Because they surrendered because they were like, fuck this. They were all terrified of him, all of them were, including everybody sideware. And now we finally get to see truly why on every single level, like why people are terrified of the Bloody Nine. Because like you said, George, which, the Bloody Nine was like a good thing before. And now we realize how fucking terrible it is.
Yep.
And it's and also it is really, really satisfying to see Wes come up and be there. Like it's one of those few moments inside of First Law where you're like, yeah, the heroes.
Yeah, we don't get those a lot.
Yeah, so that was pretty cool to see Wes come up there and have to like decide on this vital plan.
Yeah. No, for sure. I mean, I'm giving this a 9 as well. I mean, of course, right?
Woo! Trifecta.
It's a Bloody 9 chapter. Great fight scene. Even like this, like that oppressive feeling that I imagine you get in a in a like the battlefield, like that kind of siege. You know, the loss of Tol Duru, which is, wow. Joe did this on purpose. He knew exactly he was choosing him to die.
Oh yeah,
like he knew beforehand. I mean, like he was. I bet you he wasn't thinking about like Dow or Grim. He's like, nope, Tol, the nice one. How dare you? I'm giving
Joe. You broke our hearts.
Yeah. So let's move on to our character spot. And who else could it be but Tol Duru Thunderhead? Who shall speak on his behalf?
I can't.
I mean, what is there to say? This guy is literally like a ray of sunshine from beginning to end. Like every single interaction that he had, except with Black Dow at a certain point. You know, the two argue a little bit in the first book, but apart from that,
it was a
every single time you see him, it is a love-hate thing, you know. And he always has nice things to say. You know, when Logan turns up at the beginning of last,
he was so happy.
He's so happy. He's like, "Oh my god, it's Logan! Look, everybody, it's Logan!" And it's like, "Oh god."
Yeah, he is.
Go ahead.
I mean, he's like this big old fighter, right? He could potentially be the most dangerous person out there just because of his size and his ability, and he is. He's like, you know, he's world renowned in the North, but despite all that, like he is somebody who is not known for his reputation as being a full blown killer like Black Dow or, you know, Bloody Nine or Grim. He's much more like the Dog Man, like where his reputation comes from his personality. Yes, from his size and his aspects, but like everyone knows that Tol Duru, you can rely on him. You know, he may be more of a follower, but you know he's gonna always be there for you.
Yeah,
and you know I don't think anybody really would have shed a tear at this point in the story if he stabbed Black Dow, but he didn't.
How dare you? Lies, slander! I will not stand for this.
He stabbed the best of them, debatably.
Yeah.
I mean, he was trying to save him. He was literally pulled him out of the fight. And he was like, oh, God. The world was too good for you. I mean, you're too good for the world, Tol Duru.
Yeah. Oh, good night, sweet prince. Good night. Oh. That's a show, everyone. We want to thank you all for listening and supporting this podcast. As you all know, this is a passion project for the three of us, and your support really does mean a lot to us.
Join us next time as we cover Too Many Masters, Sweet Victory, and Rude Awakenings.
And make sure you follow us on social media. We're on Instagram, we're on Twitter, and we have a website. It's circleoftheworld.com.
And if you haven't already, please subscribe to our podcast on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts, Google Podcasts, or any podcast app that you use. And please make sure to rate and review. Thank you all again for listening.
You are forgiven.